you step into the octagon?
Everybody. I come here for everybody. Kill everybody. I'm the champ. I'm the king. Kill everybody. Ah!
Some fighters are built in the gym, some fighters are built in the streets, and some are built in the inferno. From the shadows of the war in Chechnya, to a new life finding wrestling in Sweden, to the combat sports world's biggest stage of them all, he has carried one thing with him his entire life: the wolf inside him. Sleeping in his gym, training through sickness, almost to death, and tearing through every opponent placed in front of him. A man who doesn't just fight to win, but fights to dominate, finishing his opponents as fast as he can. This was his journey to UFC Middleweight Champion of the world, Borz, the Wolf, the UFC's boogeyman, Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat Chimaev was born in a village in Chechnya, Russia on May 1st, 1994. Born into chaos, being welcomed into the world during the First Chechen War, while Chechnya was trying to gain their independence from Russia. Khamzat was dealt with the hand of being born into suffering because of the consequences and after effects of war. He grew up in an impoverished country with scarce amounts of food during a severe humanitarian crisis. This was basically Khamzat's entire childhood, with his family having to suffer through the terror of the First and Second Chechen Wars. This war ended at last in 2009. It still lasted about a total of 9 years, killing as many as 250,000 civilians in the combined wars. These Russian soldiers committed the most evil war crimes on innocent Chechen civilians, such as bombings, rape, arson, torture, an absolute nightmare to grow up in. So due to the war, this forced Chimaev and his family to immigrate to Sweden. It was him, his mom, and brother Artur moving to a whole new life when Khamzat was only 18 years old. His father was not around during his childhood, as he spent years at a time working outside of Chechnya. This family did really not have much at all. Khamzat, his mom, brother Artur, and sisters were sent to immigration in Sweden. They all lived in a small apartment in the same room.
I moved here and they bring us to immigration. My sisters, me, mom, everyone's living in the same room. That was hard. A lot of people talking about I'm from the ghetto, I'm from this and that. It's not the same thing.
Before his move to the country, Khamzat found an aspect of his life that he was insanely gifted in: wrestling. Khamzat began wrestling at the age of 5 in Chechnya because his brother Artur introduced it to him to keep him out of trouble. Khamzat ended up winning a bronze medal at the Russian National Championships at the junior level, then went on to continue wrestling after he immigrated to Sweden. He won 2 Swedish freestyle national championships there when he moved, and Khamzat's brother also got him a job in a small poultry factory in the small town of Kalmar, Sweden, while he also had security jobs at an Irish bar and nightclub. December 12, 2015. Khamzat was working the night shift on his 15-minute break when he witnessed something extraordinary live. Watching one of the most hyped up MMA fights of all time on TV for UFC 194, Khamzat watched Conor McGregor knock out Jose Aldo in 13 seconds, and was then inspired that he too could make a lot of money and be very successful within the sport of MMA.
So you believed that the money could be there for you when you saw Conor McGregor fight Jose Aldo, right? What happened with that? Tell me the story.
I see the guys like knock him out. I was thinking, if that like guy did that, why am I going to do it? I'm like mentally, I'm stronger than him. My body's bigger than him. I don't know. And I was feeling if at that time just meet him outside, I can broke him. You know? If he makes that money, why not me?
Eventually, Khamzat's friend told him, if you want to train with the best guys in the world, come to All Stars Training Center. an elite-level MMA gym in the nation's capital of Stockholm, Sweden. This is where Khamzat Chimaev's MMA career began to completely take off. Now, some guys say they live in the gym, but Khamzat literally did. He was sleeping in the gym for 3 years, as he lived in the basement alone, sometimes being alone for 4 to 5 months, even going to hit the bag in the middle of the night, putting himself through a grueling 3 to 4 training sessions every single day.
Like 4 or 5 months, like me sitting in this small room, it's like makes in your mind some crazy things, and it's like it's hard to control yourself. Yeah, but now I did that everything. I go through that things. Now we'll finish that.
After Khamzat made his amateur MMA debut in September of 2017, he went 3-0 with all 3 of his amateur fights resulting with him getting the finish, 2 submissions and 1 TKO. Khamzat turned pro in just 8 months, making his professional MMA debut in May of 2018. He would go on to win his first 6 pro fights, all by way of finish. As Khamzat raced to an undefeated 6-0 professional MMA record, our entire world then changed facing the COVID-19 pandemic.
500 people died in the past 24 hours, and that brings the nationwide total of deaths to 3,100.
It has been confirmed that there are 2 cases now in England.
Countries around the world have now reported more than 1 million coronavirus cases.
I have today declared that the coronavirus presents a public health emergency in the United States.
During the beginning of COVID in July of 2020, Khamzat's title fight for the Brave promotion was postponed, which ended up with the UFC giving him the call to sign him to a contract. His UFC debut was scheduled against John Phillips, an MMA veteran who was 22-9, with 20 of his wins coming by way of knockout. Khamzat ended up destroying Phillips with his never-ending, relentless takedowns and brutal ground and pound, with Khamzat finding a Darce choke finish in the second round. Khamzat had one thing on his mind, and that was staying active. Just 10 days later, after his UFC debut win, he decided to fight Rhys McGee, dominating once again, winning by TKO with his vicious ground and pound. What's even more impressive is that Khamzat dominated John Phillips at 185, then dropped down to 170 10 days later, and dominated once again. Khamzat's third UFC fight came just 2 months later in September of 2020. He faced off against UFC veteran Gerald Meerschaert, who currently holds the 3rd most submission wins in UFC history.
How many times you lose your fights?
Oh, about quite a few fights. 31 and 13.
You think you're black belt?
Yeah.
But
yeah, when you fight tough guys,
Jack Hermanson, he did not have a black belt. Why he choked you out?
Before the fight, he said to UFC president Dana White, "You think I'm a wrestler? Wait until you see my hands." Khamzat's stardom really took off from there. He earned a highlight reel knockout, knocking out the UFC veteran cold in just 17 seconds.
Just like that! Khamzat Chimaev! 1 and done!
It seemed like Khamzat was destined to fight for a title at any moment, until his life took a drastic turn. He ended up getting COVID and had serious, nearly life-threatening health complications from the virus. His lungs were torched, and this madman nearly trained until death. Khamzat refused to stop training, deciding to somehow, some way, train through his entire sessions with an extremely high fever, muscle pain, not being able to speak, throwing up blood, and even having to leave the gym in an ambulance. One of his coaches even said that one time he fell asleep in the gym's lobby because he couldn't even make it upstairs.
The day when he finished the training on Tuesday, he couldn't even walk up to his room. He didn't even have the energy to go up to his room. Fell asleep in the lobby.
Khamzat.
He can't train. His friends called me and like, "Hey, Khamzat can't even speak, you know. His fever is so high, his headache is so much, you know, muscle pain and everything." And then an ambulance came and got him to the hospital, you know. And And even when he was in the hospital, he called me when he called me, he thought he was going to die. It was really bad, you know.
So this led to Khamzat abruptly but temporarily announcing his retirement in March of 2021.
Тем самым постом в Инстаграме о завершении карьеры. Можете вспомнить вообще в целом этот момент, там, допустим, несколько дней перед ним и вообще что к этому привело, какое было состояние и как вы прожили эти дни?
Это были эмоциональные слова, просто потому что 2 месяца болел, не выздоравливался, долго болел, и поэтому я уже сколько раз интервью такое даю, просто болел, стресс был из-за того, что не могу драться, не могу тренироваться, поэтому такие слова были, там не было такого, что я дал слово, типа я завершил все карьеру, я сказал, может для меня это все. Может и все, не знаю. И мы не знаем, что Всевышний нам приготовил. Посмотрим. Может, я завтра умру.
He even had not 1, not 2, but 3 fights that were scheduled against Leon Edwards that were canceled. But God willing, after many months of recovering, Khamzat beat his toughest opponent he ever had to face in COVID-19, which marked the Wolf's return to the UFC. He came back to fight Jinglang Li the night before Halloween in October of 2021.
I'm gonna hit him.
He ended up ragdolling Li, picking him up like a child and bringing him over to Dana White, telling him he would fight anybody that the UFC handed him. After choking out Li unconscious, this is where one of the UFC's most infamous and intimidating interviews ever recorded occurred.
See next when you step into the octagon. Everybody, I come here for everybody. Kill everybody. I'm the champ. I'm the king. Get everybody.
As Khamzat absolutely tore through his opponents with ease, he spoke about how he wanted a real fight, a real war.
I want to go in the war and feel bad in the fights. I want that. You and Alex did like this fight, like these fights. I want to. When you watch like these fights,
just your eyes, yeah.
You feel something. My fights was go in and no blood, nothing. You know, it's not fun. I have 9 fights, but all fights I win so easy. You know, want to see some war with someone.
His wish came true. Khamzat Chimaev took on Gilbert Dorino Burns in April of 2022 in one of the most exciting fights the UFC has ever seen at UFC 273. After a back-and-forth slugfest, Khamzat just squeezed out another victory against Burns in a close decision. Even after the win, fans thought the terrorizing style of Khamzat was finally cracked, that Gilbert Burns won, that Khamzat wasn't really as scary and invincible as people thought he was. But everybody was wrong. He was scheduled to fight UFC legend Nate Diaz in September later that year at UFC 279.
Diaz, he's not that close. Our toughness.
178 and a half. 178 and a half.
But Khamzat missed weight by over 8 pounds, paying off the camera as he walked off the scale. He would still go on to fight, but rather at a catch weight of 180 pounds against a much different opponent who was also a character himself that Khamzat had some beef with backstage.
Say something now, you bitch. You're not about that life, kid. You're not about it, kid. You're my bitch.
Kevin the Trailblazer Holland. He absolutely bullied Kevin Holland, throwing him around and finding a Darce choke submission in 2 minutes and 13 seconds, still remaining undefeated. Khamzat would then take on former #1 pound-for-pound champion Kamaru Usman at middleweight about a year later in October of 2023. Khamzat shocked everybody, wrestling Usman to death within the first 2 rounds, but Usman's takedown defense started to prosper, especially in the 3rd round, as Khamzat's gas tank was starting to fade big time. Khamzat just survived yet another close decision, getting a majority decision victory. If it was a 5-round fight, I'm not too sure Khamzat would have won this one. He might have even possibly been finished by Usman. He looked that tired in the 3rd round. But regardless, Chimaev still remained unbeaten, where he now stay at the middleweight weight class. Chimaev would go on to fight yet another former UFC champion, Robert Whittaker, in October of 2024.
I don't think so. We'll need 25.
Ripping him to the ground and gruesomely breaking his jaw with the immense pressure of his choke just about 3.5 minutes into the first round. So, after an unexpectedly long wait, Khamzat Chimaev was finally ready for a title shot, a super fight at 185 pounds. Chimaev was scheduled to fight another extremely tough opponent who, like Khamzat, was also undefeated in the UFC with a 9-0 record and was on a very impressive 11-fight win streak in his MMA career. In what was recognized as the potential fight of the year at UFC 319 in Chicago, Khamzat Chimaev would take on Dricus du Plessis. With Khamzat as a slight betting favorite, he made this fight look easy once again, finally becoming UFC Middleweight Champion of the world. And when you look at Khamzat's journey and his fight style, there's so much within his fight game to decipher exactly how he's so unstoppable today.
You can't go all in with me, bro. I'm gonna take you down and smash your face.
It's not just his insanely high level of wrestling. Khamzat has incredible punch power with his boxing too. He also mixes in leg kicks very effectively. Khamzat is always at his best when he keeps his punches nice and technically sound straight down the pipe, not getting wild and reckless like what got him into trouble with Gilbert Burns. When he uses his jab, it's so strong and crisp that he can drop guys just throwing that one punch. He uses these tools to set up his takedowns. He's not just a so-called pure wrestler or a one-dimensional fighter. You have to be cautious about every aspect of Khamzat's game. His stance switch is also super effective. His ability to have such a strong base in both orthodox and southpaw, giving his opponent multiple confusing angles, it's obviously very difficult for his opponents to deal with, especially when he can shoot right off the stance switch. And similar to another currently unstoppable UFC fighter, UFC Bantamweight Champion Merab Dvalishvili, Chimaev does an outstanding job using his extreme pressure to keep his opponent on their back foot, as long as they can last in the octagon with him. This makes the threat of his wrestling that much more dangerous. Also similar to Merab, Khamzat very effectively uses his movements and feints, and especially utilizes his punches and combinations to successfully cover his such aggressive takedowns. Just like UFC Hall of Famer Daniel Cormier has said, Khamzat doesn't just shoot, he takes real shots. When he shoots for takedowns, he legitimately wraps up your legs like a boa constrictor. This guy Khamzat Chimaev shoots so fast that even if you think you can sprawl him, he backs you right the hell up to the cage and uses his superhuman-like strength to rip your legs out from underneath you to take your back. Fighters like Khamzat Chimaev are the perfect example of new school UFC champions. World-class MMA fighters like Khamzat aren't just one-dimensional anymore. Not too long ago, they were just specialists. Like, he's a jiu-jitsu guy, he's a wrestler, he's a boxer, he's a kickboxer. But now, these tip-top level fighters can do it all, such as Merab, Islam Makhachev, Ilya Topuria, Tom Aspinall, Magomed Ankalaev, etc.
Guys, you know what's happening in the world now, right now. I wasn't happy in the cage fight this week. Oh, see the kids dying. It doesn't matter. Whatever in the world, Ukraine and Syria, Afghanistan, Palestine, USA, doesn't matter. When kids die, it's hard, guys. I love the kids. I have a boy is waiting for me there back home. Is only 3 months. If he's just crying, I know how it feels. And when somebody dies, guys, I don't know what to say. Inshallah, we'll be good in the world. I hope so. Muslim, Christian, Jewish, doesn't matter. Please, guys, be together. Let us live in this world good. And let us be happy. Thank you, guys.
From a kid who grew up in a war-torn country, living in his gym's basement, was fought for his family, especially his mother who would sacrifice the food off her plate for her children to eat, is now UFC Middleweight Champion of the world. Khamzat Chimaev is more than a fighter, He's a warrior, and the prototype of the new era of mixed martial arts. Incredibly strong, ferocious, relentless, unstoppable.
Don't need to respect, just go and kill.
That's right.
Yeah.
9-0 in the UFC with a 15-0 career professional record. 12 of those wins coming by way of finish, 6 knockouts, 6 submissions. Khamzat Chimaev is by far one of the scariest and strongest fighters the entire MMA world has ever seen. 15 men have entered the cage against him. None have left the same. He is Borz, the Wolf, the undefeated world champion, but the hunt has only just begun.